Guys, we're not gonna be able to do one-on-ones, so if you have any questions for them, let them know, okay? You cool, you hear that, Steve? No one-on-ones, if you have any questions, get them while they're up here, okay?
Yeah, cool, I'm fine with that.
If Michael's ready, then we're all ready. By all means. All right, I think we're finally ready to get started. I want to thank everybody for coming. It's been this conference, the latest in flood information for the community. We're going to kick it off with the Director of Office of Emergency Management, Max Dunlap.
Afternoon, everyone. My name is Max Dunlap. I'm the Director of Office of Emergency Management. I want to start with a quick update on kind of how operations are running right now. As was seen early this morning, late last night, we did have evacuations and water rescues. Those operations are still ongoing in areas of Lawrence Lake. We are strongly urging and asking the public to stay away from the area, let the first responders work. We are all working very, very diligently to address all needs, all resource requests coming through, any calls for help. We are working those, and it is an ongoing incident. Currently, the last numbers that came through, there were roughly 170 individuals affected and displaced during the flooding event last night around Lawrence Lake, and around 39 animals. Initially, we opened a shelter close to the incident. We have reopened a new shelter. The new shelter location is the Civic Center, the north end of the Civic Center, the North Exhibit and South Exhibit halls. That will be open as long as it needs to. We are continuing to help our citizens the best we can with everything we have. We want to give a gracious thank you to our partners at the state, Texas Department of Emergency Management, TxDOT, and many, many others. We are working to ensure that our citizens are kept safe, that we respond efficiently and effectively to any needs and any calls for help. Again, if you've been displaced, we have a shelter for you. If you need assistance, we have a bus to get you to the Multi-Agency Resource Center. If you are still in the Lawrence Lake area and you need help, we will get you to the shelter. We will also bus you to the Resource Center if you need. Those buses will be ongoing through closing time tonight of the Resource Center, as well as going starting at 7:30 tomorrow morning to take you to the Resource Center, which opens at 8 a.m. tomorrow morning through the duration of the day. At this time, I'll take any questions.
Yeah, Max, I noticed out there that there were people showing up at the Market Street parking lot asking about loved ones who were in the area. Do you have a place where somewhere they can go to check to see if who has been pulled out of there?
So right now, we are still working on collecting all the names of those who are in the shelters. That is an ongoing situation, and we are still receiving individuals. We are working with our partners, the Red Cross, the VOAD, so volunteer organizations active in disaster, also the same entities that are working at the MARC, at the Multi-Agency Resource Center. So as soon as we get those, we will hand that information into our call center to maybe possibly alleviate some of those questions.
So people who are coming out there should basically stay away from that area and,
Yes.
direct your questions elsewhere?
Absolutely.
Okay.
You mentioned this bus, so anybody that's affected by this in this place, they just call a specific number and they can get a bus to take them to these areas?
If they are being displaced from the Lawrence Lake area,
Okay.
and they are being assisted from the residents due to flooding,
Okay.
they will be taken to the staging area there at Marketplace at the United, where a city bus will be waiting to transport them to the shelter. From there, once they get settled to the shelter, they can be transported down to the Multi-Agency Resource Center.
Can you, off the top of your head, give a quick list of what agencies you have down there working?
So we actually have a representative from there, so I'll let her speak on that. She'll be coming up here in a few, but I'll let her speak on that.
Any other questions for Max? Thanks, Max.
Thank you.
Thanks so much. Good afternoon, everyone. Donnie Hooper, Director of Public Works for the City of Amarillo. The first thing that I would like to say is just that our thoughts and prayers are with those who have been affected by this extraordinary event, this unprecedented weather event that we're working now. You know, we think of you every minute that we're working the problem down here. And just know that, you know, our thoughts and prayers are with you on it. It's a tough situation for all of us. And secondly, I'd like to say that in times like this, it takes a lot of people to get a problem solved, especially when you're in a problem situation like this that we've never faced before here. It takes a lot of people to do that. So I want to take you behind the scenes a little bit and let you know what most of us, including myself, have been doing since about 1 a.m. this morning. We've been working the problem, and it takes a lot of people to do that. So in order to make that happen, we got together with our partners with TxDOT, Texas Division of Emergency Management, the Army, Texas A&M, TEEX, Potter and Randall County, many, many others that we can't even begin to name. And we'll forget somebody, I know, in that process. But as far as Public Works is concerned, we started meeting this morning early, devising plans on how to address the flooding issue that we know exists out there. Coming up with alternative methods of pumping, which are really complicated, they're unconventional, but they're very intentional in hopes that we're going to reduce the amount of water that we have in the affected area. And those two areas that we're focusing on are Lawrence Lake and Bennett Lake, as it's probably obvious to everyone. We're in the process right now working with TxDOT to place 2 above-ground pumps at Lawrence Lake. These are high horsepower pumps. This will be to expedite the pumping from that lake, and it takes a lot of engineering to do that. This morning we had a table full of engineers, and both with TxDOT, the City of Amarillo, and others to devise a way to do that. It takes a lot of laying of pipelines across areas that are going to be above the ground. So that's going to affect traffic. It's going to affect interstate travel. It's going to affect off-ramps. It's going to affect a lot of things, but we know it's time to move into that phase of this. So that project started early this morning. I know that TxDOT is in the process right now of putting some of that infrastructure in place. Some of that is on the way from Oklahoma City, some of the piping to get it here. The pumps are in play, are in town. We're getting those ready to go. And we should have a pumping operation additional to the pumping operation that we already have at Lawrence Lake in place by tomorrow at some point in time. We're thinking late afternoon, tomorrow afternoon, before we can get all that infrastructure built, which is really a pretty amazing feat to put all that together in less than 24 hours. All of our playa lakes are full, as you know, except for Martin Road Lake. It's still doing very well. It's about 87% today. We continue to pump all of them except for Bennett, as we talked to you about in the last press conference, which we can't pump until the Lawrence levels are down. That's the goal right now. Number one is to get the Lawrence levels down so that we can pump Bennett. We know those are the 2 most affected areas. We're working on that. It's just the way our system is designed, and we're doing everything we can to solve that. The idea is to get Lawrence less than 100%. Once we get to that point, we think we can start putting Bennett water toward that direction. And again, we're keeping pace with McDonald. I think our pump at Playa 7 is doing well as well. So we've been working all morning to try to get this solved. I know you're going to have some questions later, but I'm going to let the press conference move through so that we can get everybody up here. Hopefully some of your questions will be answered in that process. We're anxious to get back to work. I mean, I know this is important for the public to know that, but the public needs to know too that I myself personally, I know my staff and everybody else, we're anxious to get back to work and get back to the problem. So we're going to do that now. At this time, I'll turn it over to Captain Joe Loftus of the Specialized Operations Division, Amarillo Police Department.
Actually, a little change in plan as Captain Loftus gets some information ready. I'm Jason Mays, Amarillo Fire Chief. Since the additional rainfall this morning has caused the flooding, we've had crews on scene initially or up within hours after the flooding began. The additional flooding began. We had 14 trucks or units respond to the area. We've also had 45 or 54 firefighters respond to assist with evacuation efforts. Obviously, as everyone knows, multiple businesses and homes have been impacted, 7 apartments. Of that, our latest account, as of 1:30 this afternoon, 205 people have been evacuated, along with 47 animals. Essentially what our crews have been doing since in this effort is just shuttling people back and forth from the affected areas back to the staging point at Market Street, and from there to the shelters. The one thing that we want to echo, and we know that you'll be repeatedly told this, is to please avoid these areas. Don't drive around the barriers. There have been questions coming into our communications center asking if there will be a time where residents could return. At this time, we want to please, out of precaution, please avoid the areas. If that does change, APD and AFD will help coordinate those efforts to possibly allow someone to return. One of the sentiments that's been echoed from this is turn around, don't drown, and we just want to really stress that. Turn around, don't drown. If you can't see the road, please do not go in that area. So I'll turn it over to Captain Joe Loftus.
Good afternoon. Bear with me while information is coming in, and actually as in real time. Just so everyone's aware, we are enforcing anyone who's going past barricades. It is illegal to pass a barricade. It is a criminal offense. We will write you a citation if you pass a barricade. The barricades are up for a reason. It is for your safety, and we don't want anyone else to get hurt. Our dive team has been actively working since yesterday, and they've been pulling people out of the water since yesterday. So we continually want everyone to stay safe. So most important thing is, if you see a barricade, don't go around it. You see water, don't go around it. We're still getting barricades put up, so there are still intersections that we need to put barricades up. Right now we have several motors officers working the perimeter, so they will be pulling people over in the perimeter. We have officers who are working the shelter to provide security at the shelter, and we have officers who are working just the general area where the event is taking place. I'm going to read off all of the locations that are currently barricaded so everyone's aware. 26th in Georgia, 28th in Mockingbird, and the following other streets on Mockingbird: Paramount, Linnet, Linda, Lometta, Janet, Hobbs and Olson, Hobbs in Western Plaza, I-40 in Western Plaza, I-40 in Paramount, Wolfland in Virginia, Donovan in Church, Civic in Blackburn, Donovan in Blackburn, Virginia and Kentucky. We are getting barricades for 27th in Georgia, Curtis and Britton, West Haven and Patterson, West Haven and Linwood, Mockingbird and Fleetwood, and I-40 in Lakewood. Thank you.
Hello, I am Janelle Menahem. I am the chairperson for the Texas Panhandle VOAD and the 211 call center manager. We have come together to bring the resources to the citizens of Amarillo and Canyon area as well, to make sure that there are help for those that have been affected by the flooding. With the events of last night, we have escalated a few things. The MARC is open, the Multi-Agency Resource Center. It is open at the Randall County Fire Department, located at 111 Texas Loop 335, Randall County Fire Department, Station number 1. We have many resources out there for anyone that may need them. Salvation Army is out there with cleanup kits so that you can start cleaning up if you're at that point. There's also hygiene kits and cases of water. High Plains Food Bank is out there with disaster food boxes of non-perishable food to help us get us through until we can get normal rations in. We also have the Catholic Charities Joseph's Project out there to help with baby needs, such as baby diapers, baby wipes, clothing, and formula for anyone that's 36 months and under that may have been affected. At this time, we have also got Texas Department of Emergency Management and volunteers from AISD's Families in Transition Program and many other organizations that are conducting assessments so that we can find out what our numbers are as well as what needs are going to be needing to be met. We're taking information for any kind of cleanup that is going to be needed. If you're going to need debris removal, mucking out of your home, you may also be needing to be put into another place to live. So with that information that's being collected, we're going to intend on following up with that with either one of the organizations from Texas Baptist Men or Team Rubicon to contact you for the cleanup, and somebody from our 211 team and many volunteers next week would be contacting those individuals next week once we have more resources solidified and in place for those things. Right now we're concentrating on the immediate needs. So you can go out to the Multi-Agency Resource Center between the hours of 12 and 7 today. We'll also be there from 8 to 7 tomorrow to get that information out and to provide those resources. There are also many city departments out there, so that I believe they're giving tetanus shots, as well as the water department or the EPA's out there to help you teach you how to test your water. There are other organizations to give information as well. And if you are not able to get there and you just want information on resources and maybe to give us your information that you need this help and we can call you as a follow-up next week, you can call our call center. The number that you would call is 806-378-6519. We are going to be answering that number until 7 o'clock this evening, and again tomorrow from 8 to 7, and taking your information and referring you either out to the Multi-Agency Resource Center or to other resources that may be helping at this time. Is there any questions?
Yeah, I was gonna ask, is there any kind of qualifications that you live in a flooding area or vetting that you do when people come in and ask for resources?
There may be, depending on what resource you're given, but at this time, we're trying to help any and all. We do ask that anybody that has been affected in any way, report your damage in the ISTAT tool, which I believe is disasters.tdm.gov on the website, just so that we can have that information and verify and connect through the Texas Department of Emergency Management and the Office of Emergency Management, and make sure that your anything you may need is helped as well. And with that tool, we're able to vet and take care of other things. Also, if anybody would like to donate monetarily, the Amarillo Area Foundation has set up the Panhandle Flooding Disaster Relief Fund. We're asking to donate through their website, or on their website they actually have a address you can take money to. They are giving those funds to the organizations that are in the front lines of helping and making sure that that's getting returned back to those that have been affected by the flooding.
Have you heard from the state any resources they may be sending this way?
Not at this time.
What about if you have anybody that wants to donate bottled water, clothing, blankets, any toiletries, anything like that? How do they go about doing that?
We are putting measures into place to accept those donations. I don't have anything solid at this time, but if you would like to call me, my number is 806-316-6204, and we will take your information and get that to where the proper place is. I'm sorry, I've been corrected. The number that they are to call is 806-378-6591.
6 or 6.
Yes.
Any other questions for Janelle?
Thank you.
Thank you. That concludes our news conference today. I want to thank everyone for coming. Thank you.